Previously on The Distraction.
I'm sick of this. Over being ignored. I gave him a chance to make it right. Truly. I'm calling the EP. Hey, we have to talk about Jeremy.
And I said, psychosis leg drop on him. This one's for all the pals. And O'Neal, Mr. Chief, and Pulowski, my man.
Hey.
What's up? What's up? I'm
Good
glad
to see
you're
ya.
here. Glad you're here.
Yeah.
And have a big name. Kate,
What's up? How's it going? Talking
what are you doing
NXT?
here? I asked for the NXT post-review show crew.
Yeah.
Why are you here,
That's us. It's a hashtag Team Kalex.
Kalex.
They like us over on Tuesdays. Yeah.
Hell yeah.
We talk for about 3 hours. It's a lot of fun.
Oh, it's the best.
I wasn't informed of this. Kate, you were dismissed. Look, guys, I apologize. Alex, I was looking for the Solo King, Sour Graps. Like, this is what I didn't realize you guys have been doing this double team show.
The solo post NXT sucks show that was bad. So I got Kate to come in. She really added a lot of fun to the show where it was kind of lacking before. So yeah, no, it's a huge credit to her. She really made it great.
All right, well, Kate, that's great. You're not really needed here, Kate. We gave you a career and everything. The CM Punk thing, you owe us a lot, and you're not needed here. Alex, we got to talk.
Yeah,
our demographic, bearded white guys. You fit that perfectly. Joseph's off the show next week. I hear you do a bunch of accents. I got to replace his accent. People love the accents. So I'm thinking next week we just go full bearded white guys. Myself, you, Rob Wilkins, obviously. O'Neal's going to be there. The corner three might be extended. We're going to get O'Neal more shots. Connor Casey. I think John Alba's growing that back. We're going to try to get him. Just full bearded white guy sausage party next week. The women are going to love it. The men are going to love it. Everybody's going to love it, Alex Pulowski. This is what I'm thinking for next week's show without Joseph. Are you in?
Well, I mean, yeah. I mean, I don't know how that's going to play in all the demos, but you guys do pay a lot, and just like Shawn Michaels, you pay me enough, I'll do their Blood Money show.
And I said, psychosis.
This one's for all the pals. And O'Neal starts to feed from the jaws of victory with the pipe gun and the chubby cheese. Distraction. Hey, podcast. Pure filth. Wins and losses don't mean shit. So what's Joseph Cringe as I do his bit? Distraction. Hey. Roll up. 1, 2, 3.
Hello, welcome everyone to The Distraction. I'm Jeremy Lambert, joined by Alex, by Joseph Hulbert. Joseph, how are you?
I'm good. I'm very impressed by the great Alex Pulowski's off the cuff improv, performance there. As you folks know, I see the behind the scenes here. I get the best seat in the house, and Jeremy, he give Alex a lot of dialogue to keep in mind. Can tell you folks, Pulowski didn't miss a beat. Incredible stuff.
He's very good. I mean, we work with talented people, right?
No, but
wow.
We are all vaguely entertaining when talking about professional wrestling. I would say Alex is about as close to the word talented as we probably have on board. But yeah, I mean, it's something, right? We talk about wrestling. It's pretty good.
Yeah, it's not bad. What are we talking about today? What wrestling are we talking about today?
Ring of Honor wrestling, in a topic we might actually be serious about, unfortunately.
Left of it, yes, yeah.
The All Elite Fleet, who produced one of their best episodes of Dynamite ever, I think, last night. The general, the usual. Let the chat talk some shop too. We'll see how things go. As you mentioned in that cold open, that wonderful cold open. This is my last show. I'm missing next week. I'll be back the week after that. But on these platforms, this and the post show will be me for about 10 days around there. So this is going to be an interesting ride, Jeremy Lambert. Here we go.
Well, next week, as I just announced, it's going to be just more bearded white guys next week. It's going to be great. We're going to have a great show next week. Can't wait. Let's start with the Ring of Honor. So they announced yesterday in the afternoon, they just put out a statement saying, after Final Battle, live events for the first quarter of 2022, not gonna run them. Though they hopefully be back. Oh no, what's wrong, Joseph? What's wrong?
Nothing. I was reading chat and listening to you.
Okay.
There's nothing wrong, honestly.
I thought there was like some breaking news that I had missed there. They're trying to be back for Supercard of Honor in April, which is typically held WrestleMania weekend. And then like 5 minutes after that, Meltzer tweeted that everybody in contracts have been released. It was later clarified that if the contract expired at the end of the year, it would not be renewed. And then if they still had a contract, they would be paid through March 31st. After that, it would just kind of be on a per agreement basis as they try to reimagine and reinvent themselves. And that's sort of where everything is at with ROH. I listened to Joe Koff speaking to PW Insider Mike Johnson. He sounded very heartbroken by all of this and tough times. Sean later tweeted that like this seemed to be a Sinclair decision. Like Koff fought for it and Sinclair just wasn't so sure. I know Sinclair just lost a bunch of footage. They've been back in Ring of Honor for a while, and look, that product is what it is. We do our show Tuesdays, which O'Neal officially killed Ring of Honor yesterday, but they've been running empty arena stuffs. When they tried to get back to live events, they weren't drawing well. They weren't drawing well in Philly at the ECW arena. Like that's usually a pretty hotbed for wrestling. So it's tough with Ring of Honor, as we've said many, many times on this show. Like, I don't think there's a more influential promotion in the last 20 years than them. When you look at where the state of wrestling stands and everything they meant in the early 2000s, early and mid 2000s, and here they are. I don't know what the future holds for them. A day later, Joseph, what is your read on things?
I don't know. So, I mean, I had a pretty pretty instinctual response. That initial kind of just bummed, and I still am. But I read Meltzer's stuff about like what we kind of speculated on and assumed that if they were going to come back, it was going to be like an independent promotion where they just bring guys in and out for dates.
Yeah.
And look, I think if you're going to really try to approach this in the most optimistic way possible, I think there is something to that as a route to rebuilding Ring of Honor. Now, do I believe that's going to rebuild Ring of Honor? Do I believe it'll even happen? I don't know, to be honest with you. The first question, I'm pretty confident won't, and that's a shame. Everyone knows I like the Ring of Honor product, but it's had problems being just relevant. It's had problems getting any kind of buzz for the longest. So I'm not surprised by this, and that's really indicative of where it's at. I think what made it so stunning was how quickly it all kind of fell apart there, right? Because now, we all know, those of you who followed the situation know, there's been many moments where Ring of Honor have kind of lost their grip on things. But that is very, very different to one statement being posted, and as you said, 5 minutes later, Dave tweeting that, and the whole promotion is suddenly in jeopardy. I don't know what their true intentions are, but it feels like, it's very hard to spin yesterday's news into being positive, right? If we're being really honest.
I don't know if there is a positive.
Right.
Like, the Ring of Honor we know and we kind of grew up on, at least I grew up on, like they're gone. Like they are just completely
gone. But the question is, when did that happen? Is the question.
Yeah, I was going to say, and they've been gone for a while because here's the thing. They were hot. Sean said it on the show yesterday. Like they were really hot in 2000. My timelines are always bad. 18, like 2000, like the elite stuff was really hot. Like they had more buzz going than Impact with that stuff. The partnership with New Japan, they sold out MSG. Yes, a lot of that was the elite, and that's how they were able to spin off and do AEW and everything. But it was still an ROH name, and again, they were under ROH contracts, those guys. So it's still part of them, even if it was the talent more than the name ROH. But they were super hot in 2018. I don't want to say the Taven stuff ruined them. Because, in hindsight, obviously Marty Scurll, not the best decision in the world. But at that time, Scurll was the play. We didn't know what we know now about him. At the time, Skrull was the play. Hindsight, easy to say, yeah, good call. But at the time, terrible call. Did not help them. And then losing the Elite in general, and I don't think they could have done anything about that. Even if AEW doesn't exist, those guys were probably going to WWE if AEW doesn't come around. Like, I don't think they could have done anything about that. I think if I had to pinpoint a moment, I don't want to say television, but it seemed like everyone wanted television, and they got that, and they almost lost their way. And it's kind of like the ECW thing where, ECW was where they were at, and they were hot, and everyone loved them. And then they got television, and then they had to deal with those hurdles. And then you kind of lost the quote unquote integrity of what the company used to be. And it turned into something completely different.
Yeah, so it's difficult because I think clearly the commercial high of the promotion was that, 2016 to 2018 range. I would, I'm pretty sure that's the truth.
Yeah.
I don't think critically it's been what it was. I think, you mentioned TV. To me, the last decade has been, there's been some really good stuff in Ring of Honor over the last 10 years, and don't take what I'm about to say as like dismissing that. But it is not the same critically as what it was in the mid-2000s. So there's truth to what you said. Now, what I would say is, and you acknowledge this, but it can't be overstated, the Ring of Honor wasn't hot. The Elite was hot, right? And the truth was, and we talked about this a little bit on our stream last night, the truth is that they got complacent, relying on the New Japan talent and the Elite. And in the meantime, they lost a lot of guys that were cornerstones and core pieces that went over to NXT. And I remember it. This is not me doing revisionist history. People that watched the Ring of Honor product were consistently critical of the stagnant creative. They consistently pointed out the over-reliance on those two things I just talked about. And it was always responded to with, they're doing the best business they've ever done.
Yeah.
But that isn't how professional wrestling works, Jeremy, because WCW was doing great business in 1998, and we all knew where that was headed, right? Like, it's sometimes it takes some time. Now, in their case, it was the Elite leaving, and suddenly the bare bones of the rest of the cabinet was very clear, right? And like, it's, there's many reasons you can look at that. Am I wrong in saying was it complacency? Maybe instead it was NXT's change, that WWE's changing philosophy and NXT becoming a home to guys like O'Reilly, Cole, Strong, War Machine, all these guys, they all left. Maybe they just couldn't compete once WWE wanted those guys. And then when the Elite were the last kind of, they were holding it, keeping it afloat. When they left, I just think it's really difficult because, this conversation is more interesting if I tell you there's like an objective right and wrong. And they definitely could have done things better, but I don't know, man. It feels like the writing was on the wall by the time the Elite made that decision. Because as you said, they wasn't staying in Ring of Honor. It was, the AEW thing is like, thank goodness that happened. But if they went the other way, it was not going to be this go back and do another final battle and do another, Supercard. Well, they've done that stuff. It is what it is. In truth, Jeremy, they failed to truly capitalize to the grandest degree on what the Elite had become. They were still very much Ring of Honor wrestling, and they wasn't able to expand at any point. And, and eventually that caught up to them, and they slowed down dramatically. It's a shame.
I mean, they offered the Elite, reportedly, like they offered them booking and everything. I think they would have gone to WWE if AEW doesn't come around. Obviously, ROH would have been in a better position if AEW doesn't come around, because if they're throwing these offers out there, WWE, they're just going to go WWE. They're essentially getting what they kind of have in AEW. Obviously, the big differences are one is backed by Tony Khan and the other is backed by Sinclair. Tony Khan had these grand schemes, and he had network television and everything, and it ended up working. They were able to pull in guys like Jericho and other WWE guys, so it made that more appealing. Would ROH have been more attractive if you just take AEW out of the picture? And it's like, hey, you're kind of doing what you're doing in AEW, but you're doing ROH, maybe. But I think those guys even saw like, we're kind of capped here. Even if we have booking power and stuff, like ROH is just kind of where they're at. And I mean, at the end of the day, WWE was going to offer them, like, they can have the booking power and all this stuff that they want. WWE, I'm sure their offer was 10 times more than whatever ROH was giving them.
I mean, look, if you take the timeline and you remove AEW, and I say this with the utmost compassion and sympathy for everyone that lost their jobs yesterday, or their contracts are going to be all that stuff. I mean, anyone that's being objective would agree that wrestling is better for AEW being this than Ring of Honor just kind of being in a slightly better position but still not competing. And, the truth, you mentioned Sinclair, the truth is Sinclair obviously has more than enough money to make this thing fair. That was never their intention. Wrestling was content for them, and that's fine. That's their choice. They kept the promotion afloat by all accounts in the 2011 range, I want to say. A little bit later maybe. But it is interesting, and we have to be honest, really, about what this actually signifies, because I am a firm believer in the ongoing kind of ideology that pro wrestling is great right now because of the amount of options. I agree with that. Everything's at your fingertips. You can watch anything you want to watch, and I think that's great. However, I personally believe, and this may be completely ignorant and wrong, but this is the truth, in my mind. I believe that we need to be honest about how much time people want to spend watching professional wrestling and why people aren't watching Ring of Honor, and to a lesser extent Impact. More people obviously watch Impact, I'd imagine, than Ring of Honor, but same thing, MLW, NWA. The general approach is they need to be on a better network. They need to do this, they need to do that. I've thought about this a lot since we're doing the Ring of Honor show, because as I always joke, it's on their website for free, and they could promote it better, certainly, but I think we're in a landscape now where, as much as it's great, there's so many options. I think we're increasingly realizing that people don't actually want to watch this stuff. They may blame it on the network, they may blame it on this or that, the production. The truth is they have enough wrestling to watch. And I think Ring of Honor and Impact, and this is where AEW is an important part of the story, and it's not their fault, we know that. But what we're saying is this is where they are an interesting part of the story, because those promotions no longer became the alternative to WWE. They became a much lesser alternative. So, and again, look, I'm not saying that it wouldn't be better if Impact wasn't on a better network or Ring of Honor. It would be, but let's be honest about it. People just aren't particularly interested, are they? If we're being really analytical about it, people just don't particularly care. It's a shame, but it's the truth.
It doesn't. I mean, the pandemic hurt everybody. There's no denying that the pandemic hurt everybody. But the fact that they came out of this, they did. We gotta credit them. During the pandemic, they did the best out of anybody. They shut down. They did a bubble. They made sure everyone was tested. They sent home people who tested positive. They didn't release anybody. They still paid everybody even though they weren't working. They re-signed guys. They did a tremendous job during the pandemic. They ran their shows with no crowd. Didn't have a lot of buzz with any of that stuff. They came back. Their television was still with no crowd. Still didn't have a lot of buzz, obviously. When they ran live events, they didn't have any buzz coming out of that. But yeah, there's a lot of wrestling on, and people are in the habit of watching WWE. And obviously WWE has their audience.
Absolutely.
AEW, Joe Koff talked about this a lot. He didn't outright blame AEW, but he mentioned AEW enough to where you could tell he was kind of if they don't come around, I think we're in a better position here. And look, they probably are, but like you said, ROH wasn't going to be what AEW is right now. They just weren't. They're just going to keep being ROH. And the point about there being too much wrestling, there is a lot, and they're not on. They're easily accessible. They don't do a good enough job promoting how accessible they are. I've said this many times. MLW, say what you will about them. They and we have plenty to say over at latenightgrin.com. But they do a good job with media stuff where it's hey, you can talk to this guy. Hey, let's send out a press release for everything. MLW puts their stuff out there. Now, whether people watch it or not, they're at a disadvantage where their big shows are not live, they're taped, and then they're on specials and things like that. But at least they try to put their stuff out there as much as possible. ROH doesn't do that. They have a website, and their website is more functional than a lot of websites. Their social media isn't great, but they don't send out emails to press to run a bunch of this stuff. They're just not super accessible when it comes to that. And that stuff, man, I don't think Impact does a good job of that. Their Twitter is very good, but as far as feeding news and whatnot to, just simple press stuff, they don't do a good enough job of that either. So, with so much going on that it's tough. You get lost in the shuffle with a lot of this stuff.
But therein lies that kind of is the answer, though. I mean, you just said yourself, MLW does a great job of that. MLW's show was on YouTube for free for the last 3 years, 2 years, whatever. MLW's TV show was on YouTube every week for free, and the audience watched it, and bless them, they're trying their best, and there's nothing wrong with that. They're good, they're a wrestling promotion doing their thing. I wish them the best. But even with them doing all that stuff the right way, there's no, the visibility is what it is, and YouTube, they're on YouTube for free, and they still struggle to get any kind of relevance, really, if we're being honest about it. Yeah. Because people, as much as they may have a reason for it, if you want to watch something, man, you're probably going to go out there and find it. Now, if we are kind of trying to suggest, and I'm not saying this is wrong, it might be true, that there is a viewer that's just at the, just at home flicking TV channels. If that's still a thing, then I guess being on a better TV now would help. But that doesn't really seem to be where media's trending either. I just think, and then you have to get into I like some of these products, but they're not the most can't miss, are they? If we're really being honest about it, you could miss months of these shows and you'll be fine. And that is something that AEW, due to their funding, and due to their production, and due to their bars and all this stuff, they've been able to Dynamite feels can't miss. Yes. And you're right, it's live TV, it's different, but it's not just that, is it? No. A lot of these they're paint by numbers. It's a shame, but it's.
I mean, I think it seems kind of telling that Robert O'Neill tweets something about a good match, and it's wow, ROH is on. This is a good match. People are seeking this stuff out and watching it. It seems kind of telling that that's how they're getting some type of buzz.
And again, a match that was free on their website or free on Fight TV.
It truly is astounding. How do I watch ROH? How do I watch ROH? Literally on their website for free.
Yes.
It's astounding that's not known enough. And ROH does some good things. They do the week by week show, which helps, but they upload matches for free on their YouTube and everything. They try. I don't
People
feel
are out.
In some aspects, I do think they try. But in a lot of aspects, they fail. And I think one of the biggest failings, and this will lead us into our next topic on this, is the Honor Club, because
Absolutely.
we know that library, Joseph. As part of our Tuesday show, we go back, we watch a classic match. I've said this many times of how ROH rekindled a lot of my love for wrestling in the mid 2000s, because WWE was what it was. TNA was a lot of WWE light stuff. And then ROH was something completely different. They had the guys like Joe, Punk, Danielson, Paul London, AJ Styles. They had these guys, and they were wrestling a different style than what you saw in WWE and in certain aspects. I mean, a lot of these guys were in TNA as well, but their style was completely different. It's oh, this is different. This is special. I'm going to watch this. And now a lot of these guys I just mentioned Punk, Danielson, Styles, Joe, these guys are at the top of another promotion right now.
Absolutely.
And they do not do a good enough job highlighting, hey, these guys cut their teeth here. Before they were having great matches on national television every single week, they were having even better, arguably, matches, especially in cases of WWE stuff. They were having even better matches when they were 20 years old. Look how they got there started. Look how they got built up. Watch this stuff. Honor Club was a complete miss that should have been much better, especially for the hardcore fans, that they did just not do a good enough job highlighting.
I agree completely. But what alarms me is if you look at the view count, because I did some of this last night after we had our conversation. If you look at the view count on their YouTube when they upload blockbuster matches, it's cool. It is not, and this is definitely saying they just didn't do well enough, but I also think it's saying that maybe you and I in the bubble miss. They haven't got the same online traction all the Impact has. And I think even when they were objectively doing better business, that was the thing. Impact always talks about their social media, and I know people scoff at it, but they upload CM Punk. When CM Punk debuted in AEW, they uploaded a Punk match. And brother, it legitimately had 4,000 views or something within a couple of days. And I was like, what? I don't get it. I struggle to understand it. Maybe I don't know. It just feels like people aren't interested. It's so strange.
Maybe. I think this is where their social media, like their Twitter, is failing, because I don't know when these matches are uploaded. Like, unless you subscribe to their channel, this is where, again, Impact, like, dude, the Stay Puft Marshmallow Man with Hangman Page yesterday, they tweeted that, like, hey, remember when we did this, like, last year or whatever?
They're very good at that.
Yeah. I think it's Garrett. Like, Garrett's very good at that stuff. Like, this, I'm not saying ROH needs to go that far with it, but, like, let people know that, like, hey, these guys that you're watching, like, hey, here's a classic match that we just saw. I don't know when these matches get uploaded. Like, when you're like, hey, we're gonna watch this match, you're like, oh, that's on YouTube? I don't know. I don't know when that stuff gets uploaded. It
has a hidden gem vibe for sure, which is not what you want. But I do think there's a question here and this is something that I've been thinking about a lot with watching, bits of Bound for Glory and stuff. Have these two promotions, and I'm pairing Impact with Ring of Honor not because I think they're headed out of business. I'm just like, they started at very similar times. And what interests me about them as a pairing is the discussion around both of them seems to consistently be this pursuit of getting back where they were. And I think in Impact's case, everyone agrees that's probably not going to happen because they were doing millions of views on Spike TV. It is what it is. That's the way it goes. But, like, if your promotion's identity is trying to relive those glory days, those glory years, I think it can be a problem. And I think Ring of Honor had a lot of great talent, but when they brought back the pure title and stuff and it popped me huge, if I'm being honest with myself, the reason it popped me was because it was a return to the Ring of Honor that, like, there's such a mystique to me. But is that the way you grow a product? Like when Impact, like, maybe I'm being unfair about this, but to me, when they have a big event, the whole conversation just becomes, and it's people that don't watch the product, by the way, myself included, that will be like, well, like, will they ever get back to where they were? Like, we know they won't. But that's the narrative, that's the story, that's the talking point. And I just think there's something to be said for that. I would, in an ideal world, Ring of Honor, would have got back to. Well, not got back. Let's just be honest. In an ideal world, they would have just kept plodding along and getting wrestlers paid. That's better for the industry, and it's a product I enjoy, so I was happy with that. In my heart of hearts, do I believe that the product was headed towards a next generation of influence and innovation and excitement and relevance? No, I don't. I think it was, a lot of good wrestlers trying really, really hard to do justice by a brand that meant a lot to a lot of people. That isn't the same as an army marching uphill trying to revolutionize professional wrestling. And that doesn't mean it shouldn't exist. I would rather it exist, but it does feel like a real thing to me, unfortunately. I don't know. Maybe I'm being unfair, but that's just my read on it.
What could they have done differently? Like, could it have been when they had that hot run with the Elite and they were getting, like, top New Japan guys coming over? Could they have done a better job capitalizing on that with building top matches on pay-per-view? Like, going live, like, there is an element of live television, right? Because even when they had these guys, they were still taping shows, and still nobody knew when these shows were on. So, like, even though they had all these guys and they were hot, it's like, oh, well, when can you watch this weekly show? Like, still no one knew. It was still kind of about the bigger events. Like, could live television have helped them during that run? Like, is there anything where it's like, okay, when they were at this point, if they would have had done this differently, it would have changed everything?
Absolutely. And that's where, beyond all the details, that's where I think everyone can agree. The Elite got to a level of hot that required a certain level of investment, a certain level of planning, a certain infrastructure, a certain visibility. And whichever route they should have taken, they actually basically just stood still. And the response when people like myself would criticize it was, they're making more money than ever. But it wasn't the way they were built. They were never, ever going to be a truly viable is wrong word because they were viable, but like a genuine, competitor that was really like felt like it was escaping just the nerdy wrestling bubble. And that's why, the ceiling that you mentioned and then feeling like there was a cap, like that's the truth of it. And how would they have done that? I think live is a big thing. I think, just trying to change their TV format as much as it pops me. Like, it never felt like something that could really be like a new fan would sink their teeth into to me, which was a shame, always frustrating. there was a time where, and this was infuriating, where they would do TV alongside live shows that were on Honor Club.
Yeah.
But it wasn't like Honor Club. You had to like buy each show, from what I remember. Yeah. So like you would watch the TV and miss title changes, and like they would come up on TV in 2 months. It's like, well, so how am I going to follow this? Do I watch the TV, or do I pay $40 a month on each of these pay-per-views, or not pay-per-view events, and then I spend $30 on the big pay-per-views? And it was a mess. And that was when the Bucks were there. That was when all the great talent was there. So yes, absolutely. If we're really going to be, decisive and point to it, the inability to evolve and adapt their plan, their system to a product that could have been more visible, more palatable for a wider audience. That's what killed them. Their inability to grow was the end, really.
And I think, again, this was during the Elite stuff, but the point you made about like kind of how they did their television, because you're right, like they had kind of their big events, and then they do their television tapings, but you could watch their television tapings on Honor Club, but they wouldn't if you watch the television, it seemed very out of order. And it's like, wait, we've already seen this because it aired. And let's just say for argument's sake or for timeline's sake or for clarity's sake, like you'd watch Final Battle, and then like the week after Final Battle on their television, they'd set something up that was for Final Battle that you'd already seen that aired. It was very all over the place and very tough to follow if you were trying to follow. And that did not do anybody any favors, because a lot of times, like, you didn't need to watch the television. You just kind of watch the big events. But then if you watch the big events, you didn't always understand all the story. So when you'd want to watch the television, but then it's like, wait, I've already seen this. It was very confusing. And this comes from me as someone who like tried to actually actively follow the product. I remember having conversations with Larry Zonka about this stuff. And like, he reviews, watches everything. He like tried to always piece it together, always review the television. And he's like, yeah, we watched this. I reviewed this show here. He just copy and paste all of his reviews because it's like, wait, we've already seen this stuff. It would be very confusing. And if you're a new viewer trying to get into it, I could definitely see how you would be confused of like, okay, what am I actually watching? What's the important stuff to watch? And if you're someone who wants to actively watch it and keep up with it, it was still very confusing. It's like, wait, I've already seen this, or do I need to watch this? Are they going to show something new? It was confusing as all get out.
So there's a comment there about if they would have preferred the New Japan Road 2 shows rather than ROH TV. And this is where I think this is where I think you and I would agree. This is what in an ideal world, they would have done.
Yeah.
The TV is what it is. You're owned by Sinclair and it's content. I don't know who's watching those TV shows. They've said the numbers are pretty impressive. And if so, let's be honest, they are not people that are like deeply in the wrestling bubble, are they? They're just people that, the wrestling's on, whatever. That's cool. That's awesome. So why not pivot to a system where, and they can still do this, but it would have been much bigger with the Elite, where you have Honor Club and you run events on Honor Club. Maybe weekly events, maybe bi-weekly. You're selling matches for Honor Club, and the television is simply clips of those matches. Now, what that would do is it would be transparent, and it would basically tell your hardcore viewer, the one that's watching on YouTube, that's following on Twitter, they can watch the whole product without having to look for what network it's on their listings, right? But it would still keep the content flowing for the audience that's used to watching at that time slot on TV, whoever that is, wherever they may be. If you could have advertised the product as for $10, and again, this is easy for me to say because their margins probably would have been killer, but I'm just, again, ideal world. For $10, you'll get every Ring of Honor show, including a discount or whatever to the big pay-per-views that we do 4 times a year, and you get the archives. I think that would have a much better chance than come into the world of Ring of Honor and try and figure out as you go what you need to actually watch and what you don't and what you need to pay attention to. And sometimes we'll just tell you that there was a title change last night on a show that you're going to see in 4 weeks and, and all this stuff. And it's like, I don't even, me, man. I'm like, in my heart, I like some of that stuff. Like, I like that old school bullshit. It pops me. It isn't how wrestling can be done anymore, unfortunately. It's people want it to be.
Not if you want to like actually grow.
Exactly.
And especially when they had the talent that they had and seemed to be on the path that they could have been on. Like, it wasn't feasible. Like if you're, no offense, if you're Impact and you're doing this stuff, like at this point with Impact, it is what it is. But like we talked about, ROH had a real opportunity when they had these guys and when they were hot. And instead of adjusting, they just kind of stayed the course.
Yep.
Yeah,
absolutely. And I think Chops in the chat says weekly TV is for the big boys. And as dismissive as it may sound, we've said similar before. If you ain't on a network of relevance, there's real truth to that. because try to convince people to give them their time every week. It's tough. And Impact finds it every week. MLW's finding it out. Ring of Honor, NWA goes about saying they've found it out. Like, it's difficult. I don't think that's the system. I really don't believe it. But
this is why I've said many times is like, okay, cool. All those promotions you just listed, they've got weekly television. I mean, the networks are what they are with a lot of them, but they've got weekly television, right? Like, what's the third brand? In my mind, it's GCW, and it's because they don't try to do that. They don't try to do weekly television. They're doing something different, and it's much more palatable for fans to take in, and people are reacting to it because they get enough of their weekly television with WWE and AEW. So if you could just consume one big fight a month or one big event or whatever it might be, like, that's a lot easier for people than, oh, hey, let me watch this 2-hour weekly Impact show and see what's going on and try to keep up with everything. Yeah.
And the other thing they have as an advantage is they never try to portray to you that they are this kind of grand, triumphant wrestling promotion. You know, they're GC Dub, they're gritty, they're rough. Well, yeah, there you go. I mean, Impact is a great example of this, but Ring of Honor is too, because they do the kind of majesty of the sports stuff, and it's like, bless. But, like Bound for Glory, they had this wonderful video package, and whoever produced that should be proud of it because it was great. And it's like, it felt like a big time show, and then it cuts to the building, it's just, it isn't a big time show, is it? Like, and that's fine. That's, that's wrestling, man. Wrestling isn't a point where we're going to have 5 brands doing big time shows. However, GCW benefits from there not being any pretense of that. There's, they are the ECW equivalent. It's not the right, it's not perfect, but that's the equivalent, right?
Yeah.
And the other promotions are major league in theory, but they come across like the complete opposite of that, unfortunately. And it's a shame. But like to conclude, because this has been a worthwhile conversation, and it's worth noting this: you and I come at this from a very much like sympathetic perspective. We both love Ring of Honor wrestling, man. Like we love that brand. Different eras of it that both of us are popped for. Some of it's shared, and we don't want it to be this way. But I'm not going to come on here and tell you guys I'm shocked that Ring of Honor is like, we've talked about it on the air for the last 2 years. It is what it is. I can't ignore the truth of it, but it's a shame.
No, we love it. I mean, again, youtube.com/Fightful Distraction. We started our ROH show, and I enjoyed watching the weekly television. I would kind of casually watch it before we started to review it. And then once I actually really kind of watched it, I was like, oh, this isn't half bad. Like, is it some of the storylines and stuff? Is it all easy to follow? And, without the live crowds and stuff, it can be a little bit difficult to take in, but still, for the most part, you're getting 2-3 good wrestling matches on the show, and it's simple and it goes by fast enough. And then we'd watch the old show, or the old match that we love, that features guys that we love right now. And I said this after our first show. I was like, this might be the best actual wrestling show that we do. Like, I've wanted ROH to succeed, at least continue. And obviously, if it was going to continue this way, not the best, the growth was going to be limited. But like you said, hey, at least if it continued, guys are going to get jobs, guys are going to get steady work, and that counts for something. But now it looks like it might just be kind of PWG East Coast. And if that's what they go with, honestly, at this point, it's probably a better business model than what they've been doing.
Yeah, it's so difficult to talk about because it sounds callous. And I don't mean it as kind of a dismissive way to talent. I hope they all get paid and they all come out of this one. Some of them, obviously, we all know they're going to be fine. But the guys that have been on that roster for a long time, they've gone under the radar, I hope they come out of it good. But I don't think I'm speaking out of turn to say that, they probably don't need to have 40 guys under contract at this point. I mean, they're producing 1 hour of television. I get it completely now. If that is what they're going to do, then I'll watch it and hopefully it's good. But, they said reimagine. I hope they are going to reimagine and not just make it cheaper because that doesn't really do anything. I mean, it does stuff for them, but not for any of us. But look, you mentioned watching the old matches, and it's like, there is a truth within that we are we're all aware of, and we wish it didn't have to be that way forever, but it's kind of the truth. Like, Ring of Honor was the place that eventual superstars would do their critically acclaimed revolutionary work that made them the names that then eventually became celebrity wrestling stars, basically, right? When you look at a guy like Bryan, when you look at a guy like Punk, I mean, these are two of the biggest stars in the last 20 years, AJ, Joe, and all of these guys, you and I could sit here and argue their best work was in Ring of Honor. It was the place where they would, play their great music before they started playing the hits. And I mean that with love to the WWE stuff, because a lot of them did great work in WWE, but that's where it was. As pretentious as it sounds, that's where it was. It was always going to be difficult, if we're being really honest, even though it could have been done. Was they ever really going to truly change their identity to be the place where those guys stayed forever? I don't know. And I think somewhere along the line, we've talked about this before, Jeremy, I think somewhere along the line they stopped being the home to the best indie wrestlers in the world. Mid-2010s, I would say. I think they rested on their laurels in terms of recruitment.
Yeah.
There's a lot of names that have gone through the Evolve system to NXT, to WWE, or now in AEW, actually, but that, like, in a different era would have been the Ring of Honor World Champ. Like, if you look at the names, you'll see who I'm talking about. But I don't know. It's just, there's something to that identity, but ultimately it was like that's what they were, right? It was the place where guys got great before they went and made the big money. And there's a charm to that. I appreciate it, but it is what it is.
Guys, we had a big discussion about this yesterday on the Distraction channel, youtube.com/Fightful Distraction. Sean Ross Sapp popped in on that show. O'Neill, the man responsible for all of this, was part of that show. I'm sure we will continue to discuss it on the post show at 4:30. I do want to catch up on some super chats here. And I apologize if I missed some, because we started early and we're 42 minutes into the show, and I'm just now getting to them. JJ, hello to my favorite big stars. Hope you're doing well. AEW was a tremendous show. Still can't believe Bryan wrestled on Dark. Pop, love you both. Shout out to Oracle with the pop there. Let me see if I can find some more. Again, I've not. You can send any super chats, everybody, and I'm sorry. I feel like I'm gonna miss them because the chat has gone by, and like
we have got. I see some here, Jeremy.
I got one. Okay.
There you go.
J. Shell Nicole says I'm upset. Kate is cash. Let it play out. Pluggo says, keep up the fantastic work. Thanks, fellas. Or keep up the fantastic work, fellas. Thanks, Pluggo. Ryan Sullivan says, it's time for distractions to get Broody Pro running for real.
Oh,
I mean, if you can clone guys and bring guys back from the dead and everything,
yeah.
Sure. But yeah,
that would go probably very poorly for many reasons. Yeah.
Guys, send in your super chats, get your question, comment, statement read on air. Let's move on to AEW last night. Joseph, how was every episode of AEW Dynamite the best episode of AEW Dynamite ever last night? A lot of talking points coming out of it, but the thumbnail of choice by myself was, I will never turn, Joseph. I will never turn. My wife is too hot for me. My brother's a better wrestler than me. I never live up to my father's legacy. I will never turn.
What an interesting guy Cody Rhodes is. If you sat like 10 of us dipshit analysts down and asked us about most wrestling subjects, huge overlap. 8 of us probably agree with each other, and the other 2 are getting paid by another promotion. But if you'd sit down, us dipshits, and ask about Code Man, I honestly, like, every person I respect talks about professional wrestling has a different read on it. Some think he is already a heel. Others think that he is completely insane and he's like losing his mind on television, which I think is probably a step far, but fair. I personally think he's like experimenting with this whole other like version of the art form, which seems bad. I'm not sure I want him to do that at any time. But like, look, I'll say this, and this is the key ingredient to all professional wrestling. As long as it's good, I can be with it. I thought it was a great segment. I really liked the promo, regardless of what his intentions were. Look, I think, he literally tackled every talking point. So he's obviously aware. The question is he aware to the degree that he's like refusing to play ball with it? Or is his refusal part of him being aware? Does this make sense?
I think, I truly think his refusal is part of being aware of everything. I really do. Like, I think Cody... We've said plenty about him. You can say plenty about him. I think at the end of the day, he's pretty smart. I love the segment or the promo, the line where he's like, everyone wants to thank the guy who writes the checks and everything. Yeah. But like, they don't thank the guy who built the bank. Like, so good. I think he is aware of everything. And that's why he brings it up. And I think him like not going into a heel, not giving the fans what they want in aspect.
That's the heel turn. Yeah.
It is like, no, I'm not going to do that. I'm going to stick to being this person. And if you continue to hate it, that is fine. But Cody has always been, say what you will, he's always been different, right?
Yeah.
Like we know kind of the divide with him and the elite guys. He's always been different. He's not only always been different in terms of like how he's thought about wrestling and wanting to do like tributes to the 80s and stuff, while the other guys want to just pop themselves and whatnot. Like he comes out at the center tunnel and everything. Like
he's objectively the one that pops himself most, though. Which
is great. Like he wants to smash the throne and everything. Like it's fantastic. I thought the promo was awesome. I'm all in on Cody and the Codeverse, man.
Now here's the question: Andrade's promo was like basically a babyface promo. Like he had the little line in there about I don't care about what they think, but like he was a babyface. Like he dunked on
the tattoo.
It's a babyface.
Yeah.
But the question is, how do you have this character work heels without turning those heels actually babyface? Because I don't think Andrade is a babyface. He just did a promo. And then the question is, like, when does Cody start feuding with babyfaces? Now, Pac is interesting because if Cody's a dick to Pac, you have a dynamic where basically Pac lives firmly in the shades of grey. When he interacts with Orange Cassidy, he's a heel. When he interacts with Andrade, he's a babyface. So him and Cody feels like something they can, you know, like I don't think you're going to see them two team up and be like pals in a couple of weeks. When eventually they team up, there's going to be issues there. So I don't know. Look, I'll be honest with you. It isn't, and I think everyone that watches this show know this, like, I'm pretty straightforward with my wrestling taste. Like, I like it to just be, here's the heel, here's the babyface. It isn't my thing. Cody's just, he's such an anomaly, and he pops me with the way he goes about it. Like, his facials when he came through, when he did his big grand entrance and he was dressed the way he was, like, God bless, man. What an absolute outlier in the world of, like, his matches are awesome in the dumbest way ever, right? Like, he had like a 12-minute match with Malachi Black, and like 6 minutes in, just like bleeding. Both of them were bleeding for no, you know. It's just, I'm not here. If you don't like it, I completely get it, because I think there's a lot of objective flaws to what he does. It pops me tremendously, even if sometimes it's ironically, I think. You know, like he's just, and he stands out even more now, dude. When we started saying the Cody verse and he was in his own little, it was nothing like what he is now. He's doing his own medium of entertainment now. He isn't even professional wrestling. It's just his invention. It's incredible. Awesome. I love it, man. It's, by the way, it's like, you know, we talked about Ring of Honor a long time, but I'm glad we're doing the Cody topic. But it's worth saying, for all of the jokes about is every Dynamite the best Dynamite, dude, that episode was incredible.
Yeah,
they didn't miss last night. Everything on it now, it was tremendous. But there you go.
Yeah, I love the Cody stuff. I must admit, like, it did get to me of like, okay, what is he doing? There's obviously some elements earlier this year that's like, all right, what are we doing here, Cody? But like, now that the way he's playing this, I'm all in on it, because I think he's self-aware with this stuff. And when you're self-aware with this stuff, this is why I grew to like the Elite more. It's like, all right, we know what they're doing with this stuff now. They're not taking this serious. They're just out here like popping themselves and doing their shit and having great matches and telling great stories. And when you know that line, because I think a lot of people have trouble with that line.
Indeed.
Yeah. But I think these guys know where they're at with it. And so it makes it better. Like, I think it makes it better. Yeah, I think it's great. I'm looking forward to him and Andrade next week. That'll be a test, because the last time, because I mean, we can say what we can about Cody's matches. The Malachi stuff was good. That Penta match was an issue, and you know,
I mean,
Andrade, I think it'll be fine too. We shall see with it, but it should be good. The rest of the show, I mean, there were really no misses on this show, but the main event segment, I said on our pre-show that like I was most looking forward to this. It wasn't the best match, but the shit they did in this, like doing this in the main event with the Halloween costumes and just the reveals and everything, like it all worked because all these guys are so over. Like they could have easily just gone out there and been like, hey, let's just do a classic 8-man tag. And I kind of thought that's where it was going and whatnot, but no, they did a costume party 8-man tag with you know, a bunch of great spots. And all of it worked, though. It was all so tremendous. And they were telling stories, but a lot of people have pointed out the Omega and Cole stuff, which I think will be a long-term thing.
Yes.
But they're doing good business with this Elite Hangman Dark Order stuff. That ending was so much fun. It was predictable. Like, all right, that's Hangman in the Stay Puffed. And then the horse, it's like, yeah, it's Cutler. But like, it's okay. It's okay when it works like this.
People are just terrified of wrestling being fun.
And
like I've been there too. So if you didn't like it, I get it. But like, it was just fun, man. It was a blast.
I wasn't like fully on the timeline during this. We're there, and maybe it wasn't on your timeline because you for the most part have an okay timeline. Like, were there people who are like, oh, they're making their world champion look like a dork dressed up like a Ghostbuster?
I wasn't on enough to see, but people was talking in our chat on Patreon last night about it. Like, it's inevitable. And like, here's the thing. I get that. Like, not everything's for everyone, but the key is that when you're being objective, this was objectively an incredible 15 minutes of television, especially with the payoff. The payoff made it all worthwhile, even if you didn't like it. But we've talked about this before, and, I don't want to repeat myself, but it's the truth. Let's be real. It is the most sincere take on the phrase variety show that wrestling has ever seen. I mean, it's insane. The show started with this kind of grueling old lad match with Bob Fish and CM Punk, which I love, by the way. Great match.
Wrong winner.
In fact, dude, it actually looks like they're going to do a program, right? I think Bob's going to. God bless Bobby Fish, man. Good job.
Bobby Fish might be his match at Full Gear now.
You know what? He deserves. He's been tremendous. Good for Bobby Fish.
The ace, get on the fish boat, everybody. The ace of AEW, Bob Fish.
There you go. I thought the best match of the night was Serena and Shida. I thought that was incredible. My favorite Shida match that I've seen, and she's had some really good ones, but that was Serena is just incredible. Good Lord. You had the kind of old school pro wrestling promo segment with Bryan and King, but the content was very much not old school, and it was very 2021. It was awesome. Loved that. MJF's segment was classic pro wrestling. You had the Cody, whatever you want to call the Cody thing. John Moxley killed 10. That was that was a slaughter.
That was very reminiscent of last year when Omega just murked Sonny Kiss, and people are like, "Oh, we want the old Omega and everything." And that was kind of the start of like his heel turn with everything. It was when he beat Sonny Kiss very fast, and that's kind of what Moxley did here.
But what's interesting is Mox and Bryan both are kind of playing with this a little bit, right? Because Bryan is a babyface, okay? And I think this is just me. I don't want to get into the subject too deep, but this is my read on it. Jeremy, I don't know what you think, but I would have tinkered with Bryan's content a little bit last night. I think his delivery was great, but he didn't seem to know what his response was to King. So they maybe should have figured that out, because it came across kind of heelish. And I don't think that was the kind of heel that he wants to be, with the way he kind of dismissed Eddie's thing. Whatever, that's fine. But he is, he's the heel against Eddie Kingston. We always knew that was going to be the case.
Yeah.
Moxley is basically a heel at this point. He's just killing guys, and he's explaining it as just, well, either me or them, so good luck. So you're in this dynamic where I feel like they can swerve you either way, or it's just two characters that don't give a shit and try and win wrestling matches. Again, I don't get ahead of myself because I haven't got the spoilers for Friday, and hopefully no one does.
I don't either. Please don't. Yeah, we're going to talk about Rampage on the post show too. Please do not spoil this. I have not read them. I figured Joseph has not read them. Please don't spoil any of this stuff for us, guys.
What was your read on that Bryan deal? Because he obviously, what he's going for is that Kingston doesn't work hard outside of the ring, which lets him down no matter how hard he works inside the ring, which pops me. I like it. But I don't know if I'd have let Bryan, considering what that character stands for, doing the bit where he was just like, well, we all go for it. That felt, and again, listen, folks, this is not a comment on Bryan's take on that. He's wonderful. He's the most beloved person in wrestling. I'm talking about the on-screen character. I probably would have been like, maybe redo. I don't know.
How would you have redone it with that?
It came across when Kingston's character shines a light on that stuff, it's very difficult for a babyface to respond without dismissing it.
Mm-hmm.
And, we've been pretty open about this topic. I wouldn't have had Bryan dismiss it the way he did. Let me stress again, I understand his intentions were not sinister in the slightest, obviously. It's a little thing. His content, I thought, was a little all over the place, as great as his delivery was. But look, Remix didn't have a problem with it. So it's like, I'm not saying it was wrong or anything. I would have probably had him not do that. But that's just me.
I understand that argument. My read on it is Brian wants to fight the best, and he wants to bring out the best, and he wants to bring out the fire in everybody, right? And I think that's what he's going for with Kingston by challenging him of like,
for sure,
you don't work hard enough outside of the ring. That's what let you down. Oh, you go through this, like tough shit. Like everyone goes through this. Like don't make excuses type of thing. And that all that's going to do, because Eddie is so honest about this stuff, is fire him up and piss him off. And he wants, Brian wants a fight. Like that's what Brian goes in there for. And so I think that's my read on it anyway. I don't think they're actively being dismissive of this stuff. Like it's a television show. And that's just my read on Brian. That's been Brian's character since he joined AEW. So I thought this was like kind of true to what his character has been.
I love the part. I think his idea all along was he's trying to bring out this kind of fire in Kingston, which is a natural story. I think the way they do promo segments in AEW and the reason we like them so much is they're basically off the cuff. Yeah. And I think, and let me stress again, I thought it was a great promo segment. I'm simply saying that in an ideal world, if I could have had it back and I was, at the wheel there, it's like maybe Brian could have been prepped better on what King was going to say. It came across a certain way. And let me stress again, I'm not saying the human being. He's the best. We love Brian. But Almac says it gave that vibe of like, pull up the bootstraps. You know what I'm saying? That's the way it came across. And I know that Brian isn't that dude. What I'm getting at is it's a really big deal. And it may not seem it to you and I because we talk commonly, like regularly about it. When Kingston talks about it on TV, it's a pretty big deal. Yeah. And you have to be very careful how you utilize it, So maybe it's not best served for a head-to-head promo. It's better off as a separate, is what I'm saying.
Do you think did they do a Road to Rampage?
They did not. No, it would have been better there. Yeah.
Yeah, like there, or maybe they do some type of video package before their match on Rampage where they kind of correct course on that, because both these guys are good enough, and if they feel it came off a certain way and they want to try to right the ship on it, you can just do a pre-match video or even a pre-match interview for Rampage that they taped afterwards or however you want to do it as an insert. Like we'll see if they correct course to try to right that for some people.
It's worth saying that I'm not saying I was offended.
Yeah,
and I'm not saying anyone was offended. I'm not even saying that what Brian said was bad because it was really run of the mill. So I'm not trying to make a big deal of it. I'm just saying I think Brian is he's such a significant wrestling hero, right? And I know that he doesn't see himself that way because of course he doesn't. He sees himself as just a wrestler. Like fuck, he's Brian, right? He doesn't. But it was a little thing, only a small thing. The segment was great. I mean, I left the thing. Can't wait for Friday. So. Which by all accounts, my God, there's fireworks. Which by all accounts is tremendous.
They're fired for Danielson and Kingston as well.
Yeah, it's going to be. Look, man, it's going to be something. I don't want to. I've heard some stuff. It sounds tremendous.
I would imagine it's great. It does suck that it's not live, but I would imagine it's great. And again, if you have spoilers, please don't. I've done very well to avoid them. I will continue to avoid them. I'm looking forward to Rampage. We'll talk more about Rampage on the post show because I do want to discuss sort of what else is on that card. Jay Shell says, don't forget about the Matt and Paige storyline. Yeah, Hangman and the entire Elite, like they've done a great job with that, and they played off that last night as too. A couple more here. Jay Shell once again says, I was there. Brian and Eddie is can't miss. There you go.
Yep.
And Ray Bennett says, I battle anxiety depression, takes it off every morning. I don't have an issue with Brian's promo.
And that's what matters. I hope this didn't come across as me suggesting it was troublesome or problematic.
I don't think it did. I think you were just offering a different perspective.
Let's be real. it's very, very, it's a foreign subject for professional wrestling promos. And like someone said, it's as big a deal, like it's as big a problem that King brought up, which I agree with. Like, it's very hard for Brian to have a response to that in a wrestling context. Like, what I'm actually trying to do, and I'm doing a very poor job of it, so I apologize, but I'm trying to convey the challenges that come with that kind of authenticity. And everyone knows I love both guys, so I'm aware that their actual mindset in this is not coming from anything sinister. No way. That is who Eddie Kingston is, and Bryan Danielson was trying to respond with a professional wrestling promo, which he did a great job of. He cut a great promo. He delivered it perfectly. But I'm just saying it's kind of uncharted territory in some ways on national television with two top guys in the industry, and it was interesting to me. That's all.
I don't think you've done a poor job of this. I think anyone who knows you and knows our show understands where you're coming from with this, and you were just looking at it from a more like human perspective of everything. And again, people who know you know Danielson. You're ready to turn in your fleet card if you did not get Danielson and Kingston. So I can't wait. I think they know that it's not like, oh man, now I'm never gonna watch these two wrestle.
No,
I just want people to know. I don't think you're doing a poor job at this at all. Anything else from Dynamite besides everything else from Dynamite?
It's interesting. I mean, it's one of those things now where we feel like bootlickers just talking about the program, right? We just sit into how good it is the whole time. I don't know. I have nothing really else to isolate. I just want to say it was awesome.
Yeah, what do you want to do? It's a good show. Like, we're not supposed to talk about a good wrestling show when we're wrestling fans? What do you want us to do?
People were so scared in this game, Jeremy, and you know this. And I get it. I've been there. Everyone's so scared of being hyperbolic and talking about how great AEW is. And we all do that thing where we lead with, it's not perfect. Let me tell you. It's not. It's like, yes, of course. It's one hell of a product right now, man. If you're watching it and you're watching it through that like lens of crossing your arms and saying, impress me, I think you're really missing out on like a hell of a time that one day people are going to look back on real fondly. And I know I say that a lot. I know it's boring, but like, look at that show last night and then realize that they were tomorrow night. We've got King and Bryan, which I'd say is clearly the most anticipated match of the week in AEW. That show was just a show. It's just absolutely spectacular. So try and enjoy it if you are watching it, because I don't think it will be this way forever. I'd like it to be, but that's not generally how wrestling goes. So enjoy the ride.
What happens when the pops run out, Joseph?
I don't know. We stopped doing this podcast.
We're going to be on the AEW network, and within like the next 5 years, it'll be fine. We'll be right there next to the ROH section. It's going to be great. Scroll through, be like every episode of Dynamite, classic ROH, distraction episodes, right there on the top tier with the baby.
How much of it will they edit out for the sake of their brand? At least 50%, right?
All the O'Neal stuff, yeah. Until like recent Robert O'Neal. Yeah, they'll edit all that stuff out.
Yeah, Robert O'Neal was interesting. He's probably banned from their platform.
Well, you know what platform he's not banned from, Joseph?
History Planet Man!
Our platform. Robert O'Neal is here. Hello,
What's
Robert
up, guys?
O'Neal.
How's it going?
How are you, buddy?
I'm doing well. Every episode of this show is also the best episode, so.
Thank you. Appreciate that. Do you have a subject today, O'Neal?
Yeah, we're talking about Cleveland.
Oh boy, I'm sure
that wasn't
this
a
will
bit.
go well. That wasn't a bit.
Why are you doing this?
It'll make sense, Joseph. I'm going to explain it. All right.
I know the bit, but why are you doing it? I understand why you're doing it, but why are you doing it?
I have a very important question for you. First off, the Dynamite viewership is in for those that care. I will say it in 1 second as my ratings here load. Here we go. 941. So under a mil, lowest total since July 7th. Obviously, AEW is dead despite doing their best show ever.
Yes.
Yep.
Okay. O'Neal, I have a very important question for you. How is your throat, Scratchy?
It's better. I'm good now. Yeah.
That is good. Okay. Good to hear that.
Doing
all right, O'Neal. Are you ready?
Yes.
All right, here we go.
History Planet Man! All right. So, the Chicago Bulls, just like last week, still have the best record in the NBA, coming into tonight at 4-0. Big game against the New York Knicks, and really will be highlighted by their honoring Joakim Noah before the game. Joakim Noah, pretty talented center for them back when they were starting to get good again. I mean, it all went to shit, but he was good for a few years, so I'm glad they're honoring him. And really my favorite Joakim Noah moment was, they were playing Cleveland in the, I think it was 2009 playoffs, one of the last years LeBron was there, and, just poking the bear, asked about Cleveland, said, oh, you like Cleveland? You think Cleveland's cool? I've never heard anyone say I'm going to Cleveland on vacation. And I appreciate him saying that because it needed to be said because, Jeremy, I know you're an Ohio guy, sorry if I upset you by my shots at Cleveland here. Cleveland sucks, man. Like, if anyone from Cleveland's in the chat, I'm sorry about that as well. Sorry to hear that. I mean, let's face facts. Like, first of all, they had a river so polluted it caught on fire. That's not what's supposed to happen to a river, all right? It's water, man. Like, you can't be doing that. Now, granted, they did clean up the river. It doesn't catch on fire anymore. Okay, good job. But the fact that it happened in the first place, that's just, come on. And then, so here's another thing. All the sports teams, like with the exception of when LeBron went back there, they're not good. The baseball team hasn't won in however long. The Cavs got the one title finally. The Browns are a joke, man. And LeBron, here's the thing about LeBron, he went back there and then left again. So even LeBron doesn't like Cleveland. I mean, I think we need to point that out too. He's not going back there again. He's staying in LA. He's happy out there now, even though they can't beat the Thunder, but So I got another story about Cleveland for you. So in the mid 80s, they're trying to get on the map, trying to break a Guinness World Record with like the most balloons launched at one time or whatever. So this is a bunch of people downtown holding balloons. And they're like, hey, we're going to let these balloons go at the same time. They're all going to go up in the sky. It'll look really cool. So they do that, right? But the balloons, I don't know if you know how gravity works, but when something goes up, it has to come down again. So these balloons all come down, right? And they end up in Lake Erie. And there's these two guys that are boating. Their boat overturns. Coast Guard can't find them because, there's all these balloons in the lake. So balloons kind of look the same as guys, bobbing up and down or whatever. So the balloon stunt they pulled, these guys died because of it. So yeah, Cleveland's bad, man. Cleveland's a bad place. I've been there, never going back. No reason to go to Cleveland. The rest of Ohio is fine, but yeah, no reason to go to Cleveland. Joakim Noah was right. Glad he's being honored tonight. He is a hero.
His three-pointer, bang!
It's water, man.
Yeah.
When did the corner three become you doing like stand-up?
Listen, if you didn't like that, you can talk to
like
JJ because I didn't have anything planned and I was tweeting about Cleveland. He said just talk about Cleveland for 3 minutes. So
to be clear, JJ or Double
Google?
J?
Double J, yes. I forgot that's what he is now. Yeah. What's up?
Did you Google like bad shit that happened in Cleveland?
No, I knew both of those. That balloon story, okay. I heard it the first time a couple of years ago. It's crazy, man.
If there isn't a Bruce Lee-esque "It's Water Band" Robert O'Neill t-shirt tomorrow, we doomed.
It's fair.
Wow. That was incredible, man. It's like doing like crowd work. See what else? Imagine you like swinging the mic around. That was an old time.
TK, before. Can you hold the mic like TK in that video or that photo where he's just like you muted yourself.
Oh, poor Bob. Every victory lap is followed by some sort of defeat. He can't get back.
No, you're still on mute.
Yeah, so take the stand.
Oh boy.
So
yeah.
Say that again.
I was taking it off the mic stand and I unplugged it.
It failed.
Yeah.
You gotta get your hand up there, O'Neill. Like
that.
Yeah, something like that. There we go. JJ says, produced by yours truly, didn't think Bob would go for it. Tremendous, Bob.
Well, here's the thing. I didn't really have an idea for it today.
I asked you to review Halloween Havoc, Bob.
Yeah, I thought that was the plan.
I was going to move into that if I had time left, but I had too many stories about Cleveland.
You planned this out. I feel like you could have gone longer.
Man, that's incredible.
Also, we're not going
What's
to talk
on?
about Halloween Havoc. I told you last night. I don't like it. I'm not going to watch.
You
Never
didn't watch
watching
it?
NXT again. He's never watching it again after what happened on
because
Tuesday.
the Braun Breaker lost?
Yep.
Wow. Fair.
Sorry to hear that.
Yeah, very fair.
I know.
Oh man. Are we done with this show? Do we wanna get out of here?
I mean, we've got a post show to do, right?
We do have a post show to do.
We're going to do a crossword as a family.
So that's the thing that we're definitely doing that.
Bob needs to join us for that. He's the best at it.
Yeah.
Yes,
Yeah,
he is very good at the crossword.
Yeah, I should be good. I should be around. Not too busy today, which is nice.
Hold on.
Oh my God.
I know.
It's a Taylor Swift ringtone.
Oh no.
Hi, love.
Oh no. Oh.
Okay.
Oh.
No. What do you want me to do?
It would at least be a pre-tape.
What do you want me to do? I'm sorry. I am sorry. Okay. All right. Okay. I'll see you tonight. Okay. All right. Yeah. Love you. Okay. Bye. So, Joseph, you're off next week. That was the EP. O'Neill, I have some news. You've been suspended for a week by the EP for your comments against Cleveland. You've also been fined for your comments. I have been suspended for a week for conduct detrimental to the distraction for my treatment of women in the past few weeks. The EP has made the executive decision that, today's the anniversary of WWE Evolution, everybody. I don't know if you guys know that. So next week, because I've now been suspended, O'Neill has been suspended, Joseph is on vacation. Next week is Distraction Evolution, and the show will be co-hosted and hosted by Cher Delaware and Kate Hensler. So next week will be an all-women show of the Distraction as O'Neill and I serve our suspensions and Joseph goes on vacation. JJ, you were also suspended because you let a lot of this go. So you are suspended as well.
I was going to ask that. Is there a corner free for someone else? Someone else can do a corner free?
I don't have anything to do next week. That if that's what they want to plan, whatever they want to do, it's out of my hands. Okay.
I may do a corner free next week if I'm invited.
No, it's all females, Joseph.
But I feel like in this case, I am kind of the hero as usual with this story.
No,
but like
you
two expose yourselves to sexist pigs, but I didn't do that. I was off camera other than the first episode of this debacle. So I would I wasn't going to use the word ally, Hannah, but yeah, I'm an ally. Hannah just said it, so I'm saying it now. I think that means I'm doing the corner free next week.
You're not. I promise you, you're not.
I know. I'm definitely not doing it.
Yeah. So next week, everybody, Cher Delaware, Kate Hensler will be hosting this show as we serve suspensions. Joseph goes on vacation. We're just suspended from the main show, O'Neill. I'll make that clear. We still have a channel to get over and a Twitch to get over. But yeah, next week is Distraction Evolution. There we go. O'Neill, you want to plug anything?
Yeah, follow me on Twitter at Robert O'Neill 31 for more hot takes about Midwest cities and Chicago Bulls tweets.
Wow. Joseph, anything to plug?
LateNightGrin.com. Tomorrow night we're doing the Late Night Grin after Rampage. That should be fun. A big 4-hour show before I go off. But also go over to the post show. I don't know if the link is in the the vicinity anywhere, Jeremy. But if it is, click that deal. Will be live shortly, and we'll do probably another hour or more, including the crossword. My last show on these Fightful affiliated platforms for a couple of weeks there, Jeremy. So this should be fun.
There you go. There you go. The link's in the chat, everybody, as I just posted it. YouTube.com/Fightful Distraction. Again, the link is in the chat. Maybe it got banned, actually, because I don't know if you can post links in the chat, even though I did it from the account. Whatever. It's youtube.com/Fightful Distraction. Go over there. Come hang out with us. I'll be there. Joseph will be there. O'Neill will be there. We'll be doing a crossword. We'll be talking some more wrestling and everything. Guys, thank you guys for all the support. Thank you. And I know I said it, and Joseph said it as well on the show yesterday, but our audience is a little bit bigger over here. Thank you guys for all the support on the new channel that's going on. We've done very well over there, and we're going to keep doing some cool stuff, hopefully, over there. So we'll see you guys over there shortly, youtube.com/Fightful Distraction. Thank you guys for everything. We'll talk to y'all shortly.